Former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo is here. Secretary, thanks for being on. Everything I read in here says that this is going to happen. And if that's the case, what should we be doing? Shouldn't there be a greater sense of urgency, whatever the Biden administration decides?
Charles, thanks for having me on today. There certainly should be now, and there certainly should have been weeks ago. Vladimir Putin has essentially predicted this. He has tipped his hand multiple times, threatening the administration, threatening the United States of America and the region, saying, here's the things I'm going to go do. And what he's gotten in response is weakness, appeasement, and mere words. You remember he allowed Russian hackers to shut down a pipeline inside the United States for several days. We couldn't get gasoline in the southeast part of the United States from the Colonial Pipeline. Seems like a long time ago. It's not. Happened on President Biden's watch. We've watched him push us around in southeast Ukraine. We've watched his work in Belarus and in Kazakhstan. He has made very clear that he is going to push until he sees deeds, not words from the administration. When we say you shut our pipeline down, well, don't do it again, or you act in a way that says I'm going to dominate European energy by completing a pipeline, and we say, sure, go ahead, we're not going to sanction the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. When he sees that from America, he's not going to stop till steel meets steel, and he sees that there is real American resolve. They need to take this on immediately. They can't wait. I don't think there's much left to talk to the Russians about. Everybody's staked out their positions. We ought to begin to take a set of actions, making clear to Vladimir Putin that the costs will be enormous. That starts with supporting the Ukrainian effort to defend themselves.
On that note, there have been these meetings, these Zoom-type meetings, and it feels like the Biden administration is going by some form of old-school statescraft. And I remember President Obama also was sort of it really was critical, important to him how the world perceived him as a leader, and he had to look upright and straight out of just the casting, Hollywood casting of how presidents should look and sound. And I feel like the Russians, people like Vladimir Putin, President Xi of China, they eat that up. That they actually take advantage of that, and it just only buys them time and actually makes him look like, hey, I negotiated with the United States and it still didn't work. I feel like we're falling into his hands with that.
And Charles, there were many times during my time as Secretary of State that we chose not to have talks because the talks themselves were going to lend authority to our adversary. Just the presence there, they'd be able to do exactly what you described. They'd say, well, we talked, we tried. Gosh darn it, the Americans were just pretty darn obstinate. We're going to go about our business. No diplomat, and I was America's Secretary of State for 1,000 days, no diplomat has any capacity without a president standing behind them who has demonstrated his ability to use American power. Not putting thousands of soldiers, no one's suggesting that here, but America's economic power, America's diplomatic power, all the tools that we have, our intelligence services. When we bring those to bear, we can convince bad guys like Vladimir Putin or Chairman Kim or Xi Jinping, that we mean what we say and we are prepared to defend the things that matter to America.
Isn't there a sort of irony here, though, that NATO perhaps is the one thing, whether they halt the expansion into some of these former Soviet satellite nations, that's at the center of this. And it just, again, we remember when you and President Trump were in office, the push for NATO to pull their own weight. And what worries me, and I think what worries a lot of Americans, how far we go, not only to help protect Ukrainians, but to sort of help NATO, who might be reluctant to do anything really concrete, anything serious that would deter Vladimir Putin.
So Europe is definitely not all thinking about this the same way, and that means NATO member countries aren't thinking about this the same way. The Poles, the Estonians, the Latvians would have a different risk profile than folks in France or Germany. So that's certainly true, Charles. President Trump was clear. I was pretty clear. We wanted NATO to have done more 10 years ago, 5 years ago, now today for themselves to protect their fellow European countries. We've made a commitment to NATO. It's an important commitment. It's one we should continue to maintain. But in the end, this is a European problem in the first instance, and the Europeans should provide the resources needed to protect and secure Europe right alongside the rest of the Western democracies.
Right. In the meantime, most Senate Democrats blocking Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz's bill to sanction that Russian Nord Stream 2 pipeline. What's your reaction to that?
It's ironic. It reminds me of what's going on in Iran. The Iranians are firing rockets through proxies in Iraq into the U.S. Embassy, American Embassy, Charles, in Baghdad, and we're sitting in Vienna talking to them. The Russians are staging troops on the border of Ukraine, and the Biden administration is on Capitol Hill saying, no, don't sanction a Russian pipeline so that Americans can sell gas and energy into Europe. We want the Russians to do it. I must say, Charles, I'm confounded. It doesn't make much sense to me. It was an enormous mistake, although I was glad to see that there were a handful of Democrats that opposed their own president, their own party's president, and decided to support what would have made sense, which is what we did in the Trump administration: sanction that pipeline and make sure that Russia can't dominate Ukraine and Germany when it comes to energy.
Yeah, we already know it's going to be one cold winter in Europe. Secretary, it's really a pleasure.
Sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a good day.